speaking of kids and summer and things to do, you of course think of pools, which means pool safety. It's a concern for everyone, but for parents of children who have autism, the risks are even greater. As a matter of fact, we're talking about Angelfish, an innovative group that helps children with special needs through aquatic therapy. And joining us on the couch, Ailene Tisser, along with Laura and Mark Rothausen, who are the parents of twins who have autism. Welcome, all of you, to the show. And I want to first ask you, Ailene, is this true? Drowning is the #1 cause of death for children with autism? I did not know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Children with autism are drawn to the water. They lack impulse control, and it makes for a very unsafe combination if kids don't know how to swim.
What more needs to be done to get this out? I mean, that hit me, really hard. And before we bring in Laura and Mark just to talk about their personal connection to all of that, but not many people know that, do they?
No. As therapists, we have a company, Angelfish, and myself and my partner, Cindy Friedman, are therapists. I'm a PT and Cindy is an OT, and we specialize in aquatic therapy and really addressing the sensory system and what's making swimming and motor planning and body awareness so difficult for these children. So by addressing the problems, we're able to help accomplish this task that's been so hard when kids are just going into the community trying to find swim programs that understand what the kids need.
Is it a special, or how special is it to try to connect with children with autism, to try to get them to understand that it's not just the water and it's fun, but there is a deeper thing that you're trying to get across?
Yeah, you have to really understand how to communicate with the kids, how to address their sensory system so that they feel comfortable in their own body and they're able to process what you need them to do in order to learn how to swim safely.
What's the biggest challenge, when you're trying to get that across to children with autism? What do you find most challenging?
Well, a lot of times it's hard for the kids to engage. It's hard for the kids to really understand what to do with their bodies in the water. A lot of them have either a real seeking for wanting to be in the water and under the water, which can be unsafe, or there are the kids that are just so petrified they don't know what to do when they're in water. So we have different techniques that we do as therapists to address those issues that the kids are having.
Mark and Laura, you have twins, twin girls.
Yes.
And they are 8 years old now, right?
Yep.
And they were born with autism. Just first, when you found that out, when that diagnosis came in, how do parents react to that?
Well, that's kind of a nightmare situation. You don't know what to expect when you hear that word. You don't usually know what it means right away, and it takes your breath away. So it took a little bit of getting used to and a lot of research, and you learn to live with it, but it's a really scary thing.
We tend to say delayed. They're just delayed.
Okay.
We say delayed for a very long time.
You're trying to establish normalcy and to have the girls do what their peers, who aren't as special, as they are. Is it tough to try to get them to understand, pool safety as it relates to just being an 8-year-old child?
Any safety. It can be very difficult. Teaching them anything it's a hurdle, and it's a process, and it takes a while. A child with autism, as opposed to a typical child, needs to learn things in a certain way so that they stick with them. And originally, when we started with Angelfish, it wasn't for pool safety or for water safety. It was for occupational therapy. We had heard about it through someone at the school, and that seemed to be like an interesting new approach to it that we thought we would try.
How'd they take to it?
Really well. If they could live in a pool, they'd be there all the time. They love it. They love the water, and now they know how to behave appropriately around it too, which is important.
Laura, you had a scare involving your neighbor's yard. Tell us about that.
The girls were home with the sitter, and my sitter called me, and she said she couldn't find Sarah. So I immediately panicked. I said, okay, did you call the police? And she said, no. And I said, okay, call the police. I'm on my way home. I was only a few minutes away from the house. I immediately called my neighbor who's down the road, Bob. And I'm like, Bob, please check the road, make sure they're not in the street, because that's my first concern, that they're in the street. So by the time I pulled up to the house, Bob had already said, I checked the street, they're not in the street, I'm going to run over and make sure they're not by the neighbor's house, by the pool. And I'm like, okay. So I pulled up my driveway, and by the time I got to the backyard where my sitter was, that's when I heard Bob saying, I got her, and I was like, oh, thank God.
And she was in the neighbor's pool, what it was. And actually, what happened the week before, so we were with Angelfish for maybe 3 weeks, 3 classes. So they had just started the swim safety portion of it, not really the therapy. And learned how to get in the pool and out of the pool and kind of choo-choo around the side of it safely. So this is how you get in and you don't end up in the middle of the pool.
Right.
And we took a family vacation to Disney World. And while we were there, Sarah fell and broke her elbow. So now she's all of about 38 pounds, and she's wearing a 30-pound cast from shoulder to wrist. And so when she got away and ended up in the neighbor's pool, she was with one hand in the water and the one hand choo-chooing, which is the one thing that Cindy had taught Laura how to train them to do while we were on vacation.
If we didn't start with Angelfish, it would have definitely been a tragedy.
A different story.
She wouldn't have known how to get in safely and how to hang on. She would have probably just tumbled over and, you know, with a cast weighing almost as much as she does. Yeah.
Sarah and Katie is her sister, her twin sister, right? Okay. When you hear stories like this, how does it impact you, Ailene?
First of all, you know, my partner Cindy and I, we started this business because we just love what we can do in the water for kids. We make miracles happen, and you can't do enough. And when we really realized that this is life and death, drowning being the leading cause of death with kids with autism, we branched out and said, you know what, it's more than therapy. And we started this Swim Whisperers program where it really focuses on teaching swimming, teaching safety, and understanding and educating the community how to work with these kids. It's imperative that everybody knows what to do.
For people who are interested in Angelfish, we're going to put information up, but if you had to speak to them directly this morning, you know, for everyone that's going to be listening to what Laura and Mark went through and knowing that they may have a child that they are afraid to allow to be Sarah and Katie, what do you want to say to the parent who's...
I just want to say that every child's unique and every child's individual, and there's no cookie cutter program out there that you can just put your child in that's going to work. And we are just so happy to be able to offer them the resources to really understand every individual that comes into our program and find a way to teach them how to swim. Every child has the ability to learn how to be safe and independent in the water.
Good thing, seems like Sarah, how old was Sarah at the time of this incident?
She had just turned 4.
She had just turned 4. So you've got a 4-year-old with a cast who's, what'd you call it, chucking? What was that?
Choo-chooing around the side, yeah.
Choo-chooing along. You know, that is amazing. I don't even know if at 4 years old that my instinct would have been to just automatically go right to the center, you know, so you must have, what's the age for someone who has a child with autism that they need to get into Angelfish just to make sure they have a successful story?
We do parent-child classes starting at a year old. So we are trying to empower parents right from an early age to get the kids in and learn what to do in the water. There's so much that's happening in normal development just by being in the water for a child. So you just add the magic of the water with a little bit of therapy and some good routine and ritual, and you can make miracles happen.
Ailene, Laura, Mark, thank you so much for being up here. We're going to put Angelfish's information on our website. I'm so glad the girls are okay.
Thank you.
And learning. I imagine they'll be graduates and helping you out at some point.
They'll
you
be
and
my
Cindy both.
assistants. Sure.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.